Welcome to Mahadhuni's podcast. This is Sridharan. Murli Bhaiya, in our podcast Divine Dilemma Part 2, you had explained beautifully on the question of whether our Sai is a Guru or God and the role of a Guru in understanding God. In that podcast, you were referring to the title Sarkar in chapter 32 of Sai Satcharitra. Murli Bhaiya, could you please explain that further?
Okay, this is a continuation of part 2, part 1 and part 2 of Divine Dilemma. You can consider this as part 3 because in part 2 I said refer chapter 32 of Satcharitra and chapter 2, the podcast 2 is all about Baba is Guru or God. And I said, Baba cannot be God, he is Guru. And I said, refer chapter 32 for that. So let me explain chapter 32 from my perspective. And we all know that Baba is famous for his parables. And my opinion is, if we understand chapter 32, we can understand Baba. This is my humble opinion. So here we go. Chapter 32, the last section, Sarkar. That is what I wanted to talk about. So first let me read out certain lines from chapter Sarkar, Baba Sarkar. In that Baba says, the skill of my fakir, the leela of my Bhagwan, and the aptitude of my Sarkar are quite unique. And what about me? My body will mix with the earth and my breath with the air. This time won't come again. I go somewhere and sit somewhere, and the heart Maya troubles me greatly. And yet, I still always feel anxious for my people. He who does anything will reap its fruit, and he who remembers these words of mine will get invaluable happiness. So this is how chapter 32 ends with the Sarkar part. I'm saying this part where Baba, he himself discloses that he is Guru. And again, I'm saying this is from my perspective. So my interpretation is this, that if Baba says, the skill of my fakir, the leela of my Bhagwan, and the aptitude of my Sarkar. Baba talks about three entities here, fakir, Bhagwan, and Sarkar. Who are they? And we know fakir is none other than our Baba, but Baba as a third person saying that the skill of my fakir. Why he says so? As a third person, he is referring himself as a third person, fakir. So the interpretation is, as I told you, Baba is famous for his parables. Here, he indirectly talks about the three levels of consciousness. In Hindu Dharma, it is Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar. These are three different types of consciousness. In Vedanta, it is said, Turiya, there is a fourth state of consciousness. Right? You can check online that. I think in Mandokya Upanishad it is said that Turiya, there is a fourth state of consciousness. The first one is Jagrat, the so-called the awakened state, what we are now. With all our senses, we are awake. That is called Jagrat. And then we have swapna, a dream state of consciousness. In the dream state of consciousness, we lack some of our senses, but our memory and with our intellect still keep going on, but our senses are in rest. So this we call as dream. Our buddhi is working through the chitta, the memories that we are carrying, triggers some imagination without the control of the senses, and we call it as dream. So that state of consciousness is swapna. And then the third state of consciousness is called sushupti, or deep sleep, where we don't have the memory of what we are, a total blankness. So these are the three states of consciousness we going through every day, every single day. And the Vedanta says, the Upanishad says, there is a fourth state called Turiya. Turiya literally means fourth. So there are four levels of consciousness. And the fourth state of consciousness we call God, Parabrahm, or as I said in my previous podcast, wholesomeness. So what is this 3 or 4 states of consciousness to do with what we are talking now, that Baba is Guru or God? And I'm referring chapter 32 for that. Here, Fakir, Leela, the Fakir, Bhagwan, and the Sarkar are the 3 entities that Baba addressing, are the 3 states of consciousness. Fakir is none other than the state of Brahma, the so-called awakened state with all the senses. And the Bhagwan is the state of, deep sleep. We can call it as deep sleep, where there is no state of swapna. Baba jumping directly to the Trinity concept of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So the Fakir we can relate with the Brahma, and the Bhagwan we can relate with Vishnu. And we all know that we call Vishnu as Bhagwan. And in the state of Fakir, in the state of Brahma, our consciousness is working through the senses, all the 5 senses. And in the deep sleep, in the state of Vishnu or Bhagwan, we are sustaining our ahamkar. The very seed of our existence is sustained there in that state of consciousness. That is why when we are awake, we are alive. When we get up. And this state of consciousness, the state of Vishnu or the state of Bhagwan, is the seed of everything. The bija. From this state springs up the state of Brahma. That is why in the South India we can see Vishnu depicted as a sleeping god, Ananta Sayanan. We can see that Vishnu is lying down on Seshnag with one hand touching the Shivalinga, and you can see from his navel, the Nabi Kamal, the lotus, comes out, and on the lotus we can see Brahma. This is how the Ananta Sayanan is depicted in South, at least, in South India, in Ananta Padmanabhi Swami temple or in Srirangam temple, we can see Vishnu in this state. And you can see his, though he pretends like sleeping, you can see a small smile on his face. That is why he is called Ananta Sayanan. Because in this state, we are untouched with the senses, the 5 senses. And these are the 5 senses are the gateway to our karma, both good and bad. Whatever the experiences we go through, good or bad, happiness or sorrow, that is accumulated through these gateways, the senses. seeing, touching, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touch sensation, all these five senses. And through this, we accumulate a lot of data in us, and we build that data upon us, and we are identifying ourselves as some individual. The very seed of this is ahankar, and that is the state of Vishnu, the Anantasayanan. The Anantasayanan is untouched with all these senses, because in the deep sleep, we are untouched with all the senses, and so we feel so relaxed when we get up, if we are into the deep sleep. That is why the Vishnu depicted as a smiling God lying on Seshnag. That smiling is the representation of Ananda. That is, Ananda is beyond happiness and sorrow. It's a state of blissfulness. So he is Ananda Sayanan, the one who sleeps happily, blissfully, I can say. So that's the second state of consciousness. And then the third or the ultimate state of consciousness is Shiva or the Rudra, which our Baba refers as Sarkar, Malik. We all know Baba always referred to Malik, Allah Malik, Sabka Malik Ek. And this Sarkar is that equivalent word. So Baba talks about these three states of consciousness. Once we cross our ahankar, the second state of consciousness, the state of Vishnu or Bhagavan, we enter into the state of Rudra or Shiva, which Baba refers to us as Sarkar. So these are the three states of consciousness. Now the question is, the one who talks about all these three states of consciousness, who is this? Who is that? Right? So, in the state of Sakshi Bhut, a witness of all these three states, one who experiences all these three states can talk about these three states. And he is the one who experienced the third one, that is the state of Shiva, Rudra or Sarkar. And in the state of Fakir, he is talking about this, that there are three states of consciousness. Only a guru can talk like that. The one who has the experience of all these three and delivers this message to others is the guru. And that's what our Baba is doing. As a guru, he talks about these three stages of consciousness. And out of compassion towards all of us, he states that there are three states of consciousness. And that as Fakir, that he is carrying a body, Brahm, state of Brahma, as Fakir. And he says there is a state of Vishnu, that is Bhagavan, and there is a state of Shiva or Rudra, which is nothing but Sarkar. That's what he's trying to say, that he is talking all about this from all these three states. Only a guru can do this, and that is why I said Baba is guru. Otherwise, one who attains samadhi to become one with the wholesomeness will never ever talk to us, or we can't understand what they are talking or what they are communicating. Only guru communicates with us, explaining all these concepts, and that is why he is guru. He is not God. And that is why I said chapter 32 helps us to understand who is Baba. Baba is far beyond what we actually know. He is Paramaguru, Jagat Guru. He is everything to me and everything to you all. Jai Sai Nath.